2, 1.
7 things you probably didn't know you need to know. I'm Jamie East, and this is the Smart 7.
Good morning, everybody. It's Thursday the 12th of May and it's International Nurses Day. And a big happy birthday to Rami Malek, Burt Bacharach, Tony Hawk and Rishi Sunak. The war in Ukraine could be seeing a shift in momentum as President Zelensky says his country's forces are pushing Russian troops back towards the border and recapturing villages north and northeast of Kharkiv. He spoke on Wednesday by Zoom with politics students in a French university, and he says the Ukrainian nation is running out of patience with Russia, which will make any peace talks harder.
From each Bucha, from each Mariupol, with each step where we have a lot of grave masses, with each and every step, there are less possibilities and desire to solve this issue by the diplomatic way.
Ukrainian prosecutors are ready to begin the first war crimes trials for 4 Russian soldiers accused of rape and murder, for which they could face life in prison. Meanwhile, UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson was in both Sweden and Finland on Wednesday to offer joint security agreements with the UK and to strongly defend NATO itself.
NATO is a defensive alliance. NATO poses no threat to anyone. It is there for the purposes of mutual defence.
The Swedish Prime Minister, Magdalena Andersson, outlined how the new deal will work.
The Prime Minister and I have agreed to face challenges in peace, crisis and conflict together. The United Kingdom and Sweden will assist each other in a variety of ways.
Boris says the war's changed everyone's view on security.
The war in Ukraine is forcing us all to make difficult decisions, but sovereign nations must be free to make those decisions without fear or influence or threat of retaliation.
Michael Gove's dampened any hopes of an emergency budget this summer to tackle the cost of living crisis. The Levelling Up Secretary insisted the issue was no big deal during a bizarre appearance on the BBC. He appeared to be in effervescent form, using the interview to try out a range of unusual accents, with some feeling he was making light of a very serious situation.
Some commentators chasing their own tails and trying to take a statement that is commonsensical, turning it into major capital letters, a big news story, and in fact, when the Treasury quite rightly say, calm down, people then say, ooh, this is clearly a split.
Meanwhile, another Tory MP has been making the headlines for all the wrong reasons. The member for Ashfield, Lee Anderson, delivered a tone-deaf speech in the House of Commons, blaming people's lack of domestic skills for the food bank crisis.
I think you'll see firsthand that there's not this massive use for food banks in this country. We've got generation after generation who cannot cook properly, they can't cook a meal from scratch, they cannot budget.
The aftermath of the Northern Ireland Assembly elections continued on Wednesday, with Sinn Féin insisting that the Northern Ireland Protocol is here to stay and that the UK's government's rhetoric is serving only to pander to the DUP as tensions rise over post-Brexit arrangements. Northern Ireland Minister Conor Byrne has been warning that the current protocol's unsustainable, but Sinn Féin Vice President and First Minister-in-Waiting Michelle O'Neill says that shouldn't interfere in the process of forming a government for Northern Ireland.
Said very clearly that we can't be held to ransom and can't be used as a pawn in the middle of a game between the British government and the European Union.
Irish Foreign Minister Simon Coveney is hopeful for a resolution which could address concerns on both sides.
But I believe there is a landing zone if the British government and the European Commission work in partnership, intensify discussions as to how we can work through the implementation of the protocol.
Day 2 of the Wagatha Christie libel trial between Rebecca Vardy and Colleen Rooney saw Rebecca move to tears as she gave evidence at the High Court. She took to the stand for a second day to defend messages sent between her and her agent Caroline Watt. There were plenty of messages read out, but there's no plan for the agent to take the stand, as Sky News' Gemma Peplow explains.
Yes, it seems mad really that it's all happening without this woman that everybody is talking about. The whole focus of this trial is all about the messages. You know, the question that, as David Sherburne has put it, that was Vardy responsible for the leaks? Was Caroline Watt responsible for the leaks? Was she responsible but authorised by Vardy? That seems to be what this whole thing hangs on.
And don't forget there's a Smart 7 daily update on Wagatha Christie each day at around 5 p.m. Look out for our special bonus episodes. Still to come on the Smart 7, bad news for Liverpool as Man City go on a goal spree and the Bowel Babes cancer fundraiser hits £3 million.
Right after this. Welcome back.
Wednesday night was a big night for football. In Scotland, Celtic won the Scottish Premiership after a draw at Dundee. In Holland, new Man United manager Erik ten Hag sealed the Dutch title with Ajax. And the Premier League looks like it's firmly in the hands of Man City as they won 5-1 at Wolves to go 3 points clear with a goal difference of 7 and only 2 games left to play. Kevin De Bruyne got 4 goals on the night, and Man City manager Pep Guardiola was happy to see him being selfish.
I'm happy because always Kevin had the sense for the assists too. He's so generous and always thinking what is the best for the team. But always we try to push him. We have to win games. We have to score goals. And this year I think is the more prolific year in this sense.
Podcast host and former BBC presenter Deborah James has become widely known after her bowel cancer diagnosis back in 2016 led her to starting the Me and the Big C podcast. Now she's saying her final goodbyes as she moves to hospice care. She's been fundraising through the Bowel Babe Fund, which has now raised over £3 million, including a donation from William and Kate on Wednesday, who also sent her a thank you note for all of her efforts on Twitter. She spoke to BBC Breakfast on Wednesday about her fund and where she wants the money to go.
Before I died, the one thing I knew I wanted to do was set up a fund that can continue working on some of the things that gave me life, such as the innovative drug studies.
This Friday is the 13th, and what better way to celebrate the Black Cat Bad Luck Day than with a nice scary horror movie? Good news then, because the Queen of Creepy is back as Christine Ritchie stars in a supernatural tale of horror and suspense. Monstrous centres on a mother and son on the run from, well, a monster, only to be chased by another. It hits cinemas on Friday, luckily.
Hello?
I miss you. I miss my son.
Well, you better get used to it because you'll never see either one of us ever again.
This has been The Smart 7. Wherever you're listening, do us a favour and hit the follow button. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. Have a great day.
Written, produced and published by Daft Doris.